After reading many different theories on culture, I came to the realization that to certain extents, social spaces cannot very well function without a certain social hierarchy, in a sense, or a sort of power balance dynamic in the social space. Whether it being at home, at work, at school, in the street, in restaurants, etc. There has to always be a certain power balance. This is all my opinion. This is the conclusion I have come to after doing different readings on the subject. There can always be a shift in the power back and forth to and from the people who have more power to the people who have less power. But there always has to be someone, a certain figure that is sort of at the top of the hierarchy, that has more power than other people. Again, this is just all my opinion, and I was really curious to find out what other students may think about the subject. So that's why I wanted to do this little video, to just interview maybe a few people and ask them some questions and see what their answers are. I didn't really want to interview many anthropology students because I'm more exposed to them in the classroom, and if we haven't discussed it in the classroom, we discussed it outside the classroom. So I was just really curious to see what other people may think of this subject, even if they didn't really know much about the subject. And in the end, I just wanted to answer one general question, which is, are social structural hierarchies inevitable? Do they actually have to exist within a social space in order for it to be organized and orderly, or not? I asked the students four main questions. First question is, are you aware of what a social hierarchy is? If they're not very aware of the subject, I explain it very briefly and get to know what their idea on the subject is. Are you aware of what a social hierarchy is?
Specify please.
Okay. فمثلا in any social space, anything you're exposed to, بيبقى فيه a distribution of power. في someone higher in power but then someone lower in power, like the pyramid thing. عارف البيراميد اللي هو the boss is on top وفي ناس تحتي. فأنا بالنسبة لي in any social space there has to be an order of power اللي هو الهيراركي ده. مثلا in a classroom عندك a teacher, she's higher in power than the students, هي اللي تقول لهم يعملوا ايه. مثلا at home your parents have higher power than you, for example.
Siblings have a higher power than me and the younger.
Yeah, exactly. Are you like فهمت دلوقتي؟
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Hi.
Hello.
Okay. Are you aware of what a social hierarchy is?
Yes, to an extent. I think basically like one is in power or whatever, and then different levels in a space or in an area.
Hey Lola.
Hi.
Okay. Are you aware of what a social hierarchy is?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's basically when we talk about classes, for example, or specific roles of individuals in a society, people serve other people, so other people can. So it's basically not exactly. I don't have like a specific definition, but I could sense it in society in general. Like in Cairo, for example, you'd find people who are in the lower classes serving those in the middle class, and the middle class serving those in the upper class. But then it's supposed to be in an ideal world, it's supposed to be that the higher class, they play their role as well, so that the lower class could benefit from that, but that doesn't happen, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's basically different levels in a society where specific people are considered not better, but like more important than other people.
Understand about it?
I guess privilege in terms of socioeconomic identity.
Okay. Well, to me, it's something different. It's مثلا there has to be, not there has to, but there's a certain structure in any social space. For example, your house or a classroom, مثلا, your professor has higher power over you in the sense that she can fail you or not in your house because your parents can tell you what to do and what not to do, although you may like ignore them.
So authority.
Yeah, authority. The second question is, can you describe for me a certain social space with a hierarchy that you are exposed to? And what is your place in that hierarchy? But can you describe for me any, so if it's your house, if it's something I described قبل كده, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. House, where you first have parents, then the elder children, the younger, maybe dogs for
Dogs for there. Okay, Tab, where are you in that social hierarchy? See, do you
I'm
are
the
you
youngest child, so
تحت خالص.
Honest,
And then the
for
dogs,
dog.
and then the dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, my parents have the highest authority, and then my older sister, and then my younger sister, and then me. So I have the lowest.
You're the youngest.
Right. No, I'm not the youngest. I'm the middle guy. But my younger sister, she's دلوعة وكده. She's
So she has more power
she has
than
more
you.
power, actually. So
Okay.
this is really annoying. But other than that, no.
No, okay.
So I think the simplest one would be a family. Like you'd have parents usually at the top of the hierarchy, followed by the children, and I guess you can consider either pets with children, and then if you want to consider either like someone who comes to clean, they're not exactly part of the family all the time, but they're not part of the family dynamic consistently, but they do play a role. And then I guess you could have like the extended family as the lowest ranking.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, for example, if we're talking about a home, due to circumstances, I don't know, due to a very social, it's a construct kind of thing. It's been passed down generations. We have the father, the head of the house, and then the mother, and then you find the older sibling, and then sometimes it's not about how older the sibling is, or how young or how old, but then we could find it's shifting towards a patriarchal kind of system. So you find the boy would have more benefits or more rights, or more the parents would be more lenient to them. But then if any of the kids want like permission to do anything, like waiters for example, or they want permission to do something, or they want to take a leave for example, or they want to go somewhere or whatever, they have to go back to their manager for example, and the manager and the owner, and then so it could be implemented in different circles everywhere, I think.
For example, at a restaurant, there's the people who are eating, and me, and then there are people who are serving. And I guess in social hierarchy, usually the waiters are considered in a lower level than the people who are being served.
Well, there's a student-run organization where I guess I'm a top power since I'm like the president, and like all the other students are underneath in terms of social hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I guess at home I'm at the bottom of social hierarchy.
Yeah, do you have any brothers, sisters?
3 older sisters.
3 older sisters. Do you think they have more power over you or more authority?
The youngest one is 9 years older than me, so that's just like
Okay,
a lot more
Yep.
power.
Okay. Question number 3. Do you think this social hierarchy is inevitable? For example, that there has to be a certain hierarchy or a certain balance of power within a social space in order for it to function more properly or not? Question number 4 is, do you think that there can be a shift in power over time within a certain social space or not?
If the question is can it change, then of course it depends on the situation of the person himself. But in my opinion, I think that how life goes on is not that people have a higher power than others, but people have their roles are different. Some have more responsible and more important ones than others, which gives life which makes life actually stable somehow. People who are higher in the this thing,
Pyramid.
they have to do things that actually benefit ones lower.
Okay.
But if it's more of in real life, the ones who have more money, they get all these things. This is I'm totally against that. But sometimes we need this to live.
Okay. طيب, now that you understand more what a social hierarchy is, do you think it's something that's inevitable? Like مثلا a social space can't function without a hierarchy?
In some situations, yes,
Yeah.
they actually do need. يعني أنا مثلا without a boss, I'm gonna be totally irresponsible and I'm gonna do whatever I want because I'm still, young or something like that.
Okay.
So usually they are more experienced, so they know more, so they're supposed to be higher than me.
So do you think that this social hierarchy is something that's inevitable? Like it has to be in any social space in order for that social space to function?
No.
Okay.
I think it's because we're so used to it. It's become the norm to have. It's everything that we've been surrounded by since we've grown up, and it's everything that's happened in the past as well. But in an ideal world, I guess there wouldn't be that concept of hierarchy of someone being better or above you, even though sometimes it's important to give the value of certain positions that they are needed, but that doesn't mean that your position is better than someone else's, because you all need to work together eventually to get anything done.
Okay. Last thing, do you think that in a social space where there is power, do you think that power can shift?
Yes.
Okay.
I think power shifts all the time because we fill in for each other in different roles, and an example would be in my family, me and my dad both have our leadership. We have leadership traits or qualities in us, so we tend to alternate between that. So if we're going on a trip together as a family, sometimes my dad would make a decision, other times it would me, because we try not to clash because we both have that quality. And even though it would be logical that I guess my dad would assume all the decision traits, but no, we alternate because we both have that trait in us, so it works.
Thank you.
I think in some areas like constitutions or constitutions or different more formal or more professional, they would need a manager to manage everything and overlook their responsibilities, and then people with qualifications as well, they play in, and the more qualifications you have, the more qualified you are to overlook other people doing their jobs. But I guess I don't know, in the social circle, for example the home, it is the father, it is the parents, but the thing is, it's very biologically, I mean, they just gave birth to us, but then there's smudged lines or blurred lines between you being under your father's roof and then you being your own person as well. You develop independently or individually, but then, so I guess some order is necessary at some times for discipline and for a job to be completed the way it is, but unfortunately I don't think this exists anywhere in the world. And there's corruption everywhere and there's blurred lines everywhere. But on a general sense, yeah, but then if it is important, but then if we look into specific situations or scenarios or whatever, I think as long as everyone is doing what they feel like they can do or they can give back, and everyone's dividing the rules on themselves, I guess this would be.
Last question, do you think مثلا if there is a social space where there is a hierarchy, do you think that power can change, can shift over time?
It's supposed to, I think, with time, definitely. I think the hierarchy, the word hierarchy or the term itself gives lenience or gives the interpretation or interpretation that it's just there, it's concrete.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to be productive or to be developing or to reach a point where you're developed or where you're actually doing something beneficial towards a greater cause, you should shift, you should grow, and you shouldn't always be in the same place, and you shouldn't be always doing the same thing and not benefiting from whatever you're doing, and it's not but I think it should be shifted, but unfortunately that doesn't happen.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, do you think, in order for a space to function, do you think that there has to be a certain hierarchy?
No.
No.
I don't believe that it's essential.
Essential.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you elaborate ولا مش عايز؟ It's
Um,
fine لو مش عايز.
okay.
Okay. طيب, do you think طيب in a space where there is hierarchy and there is certain divide of power, in that power divide can change, can shift?
Definitely. A lot of things can like factor in for that change to happen. Um, like the thing about social hierarchy, it's all in our heads. There aren't really rules that separate people. Like we're all people, so if we choose to just ignore these rules, they're gone just like that. So yeah, I feel like they're not as rigid as people try and make them out to be.
It's not necessary, but like in order for an organization to thrive, there has to be like at least an organizer or mediator of some sort. Otherwise, it'll be ineffective or like inefficient, I guess. So to sum up, it's not necessary, but it's like what it kind of is.
Okay. Last question. Do you think if there is a space where there is certain power, that power maybe can shift over time?
Definitely. It depends on, like, for example, if two people, if there's a president of an organization and a vice president or even a member, and that member just gains attention, recognition, approval, just like widespread establishment in the organization, then people would sort of look to him for guidance and leadership rather than the actual like official leader. It all depends on how the general public views the leader in terms of social hierarchy.
Thank you for everyone that participated, and I was honestly very surprised about a lot of the answers that they gave, and I just hope that it was informative.